Yo, before we get into this, let me just say, free Tory. He too fire to be locked up. He ain't do nothing wrong. So today we're making a Hurt Me / Alone at Prom / Tory Lanez type beat. In today's tutorial, I'm kind of giving you guys a 2-in-1. Part 1's going to be more of that Hurt Me style, that drum bounce. And then part 2 is going to be more of like the Color Violet, because those seem to be like the two big songs that everybody likes right now. So starting with the Hurt Me sound, we are in 75 BPM. And we're making this in half the tempo of what most normal like trap beats would be in. So this would normally be in like 150. I think that's how the math works. But before we even get into the drums, I'm just going to break down this loop. All of the sounds here are coming from Analog Lab. And I didn't have Analog Lab. I just have the demo because I'm too broke to buy it. So basically, I just laid down 4 basic triads because all pop songs sound the same. Yeah, it's not fucking special at all. You really don't need to do anything crazy for these types of beats. I'll show you what I did here. So I'll just bring back the melody to its simplest form. So it just looks something like this. A bunch of basic triads. First thing, for some depth, just layer the bass notes, copy them, go down 1 octave. Now you have a little bit of a bass line. And then second thing, I didn't want these huge gaps. So what I mean by that, you see how this is just a far jump to that? So what you can do is change the voicings. The voicing practically means it's the same chord, but it's played differently. So you just move the octaves of some of the notes. So what I did here was I moved these two and put them up an octave just so the jump wasn't as huge. Once you've done that, you are practically halfway done with the beat. Like, once you have your main chord progression, there's no really crazy leads. These beats are so easy and they just sound way more complex than they actually are. The next sound, like I said, I have the demo Analog Lab, so I can't show the presets, but I took this pad and I layered the exact same chords, which sounded like this. And also the final melody, I pitched it down 2 semitones, so that's why it will sound a little bit different, but it's the same chords. To give it that pulsing effect, I have the plugin Kickstart. And now next sound, again, is the exact same chords. For this one, I just wanted a bigger and brighter sound just to really fill in the space. Next sound is going to be the bass line. This, I just followed the root notes from the chords, but then I added a little bit of rhythm. Next sound is this pluck, and I have the chords pulled up here, and as you can see, it uses the exact same notes. So I just used the notes of the chord and then put it into a really fast rhythm. Then I have this, which I kind of use as like a transition melody, and then I just have these 2 extra notes. And then last thing, which I'm kind of using as like the main lead for the beat, I took this 3rd pad layer, I put it up 1 octave, I added this hat preset in Shaper Box. I don't know why I put a hat preset on a melody, but we're innovative here and it fucking worked. So this is how that sounds. And all the melodies together. And then for the second section, which is going to be like the Color Violet section, I upped it to 96 BPM. And the complete drum bounce is going to be different once we get into the drums. But I also wanted to change some of the melodies because some of the melodies sounded too fast. So all this stuff is the same. And I took out some of those other melodies and I added this new ARP, which is the same as that ARP, using the notes of the chords, except a slower rhythm. Alright, so now for the drums, we'll start with the Hurt Me section again. Since we're at such a low tempo, you know, most of your normal trap beats, the snare is going to be like right here, the kick will be right here, the hats are going to be like this. And if you play that, that is slow as shit. So what you want to do is fill each 4 steps for the kick, and then you put the snare every other. So at the very minimum, that's your pattern, but I like to just add some variation, add like some extra snares in there, change the kick rhythm. Then I'll add like a really simple hat underneath it. So at the very minimum, there's your beat, but I'm going to create a second pattern and we're just going to make it unique, and then I'll add some hats and open hats underneath it. But every other note I'm going to make quieter, and I'm just going to do it randomly. It doesn't have to be perfect. And then on top of that, you can press Option R or Alt R if you're on Windows, and then change the randomizer just so it's even more random. And then what you could do on top of that to make it more realistic, because let's say like a real drummer was playing the drums, it's not going to be perfectly on beat every time. That just sounds too robotic. So what you could do is I'll just randomly select some notes, just slightly put them off beat. Then I'll select some more notes, just random notes again. Don't want to overdo it though, so I'll just select a few and then put those off by 1. And then there's some variation. But last thing I want to do is add an open hat. I'm going to show you something that I would do for these type of beats for the open hat. And that is wherever your open hat plays, your closed hat doesn't. Because again, if you want it to sound realistic, a real drummer can't play a closed hat and an open hat at the same time. It doesn't make sense. So figure out where I want the open hat to be, and I'll take out that from the closed hat. All right, so this is why the layers were so important, because right here for this first section, as you can see, sounds very calm, right? But then for the second section, all I did was add those same chords, but in that brighter sound. It really changes the whole vibe. And then for the last section, I have this pickup here with that lead, and then I have all the melodies playing. And then now, like obviously in a normal song, you're not gonna have a fucking tempo change, but this is for the tutorial's sake because I'm doing the other style of drums as well. So I'm gonna add this little tempo automation. A lot of things I hear in these beats as well are drum fill, so I just added this drum fill. How I made this was actually a triplet fill from my upcoming drum kit, which you guys should definitely check out when it comes out sometime in July, so just subscribe and stay updated for that. Obviously, I didn't want a triplet for this type of beat. I feel like it was too slow, so I just chopped it up into eighth notes and it sounded pretty good. But now I'm going to show you guys the drums. I just copied over the original drum pattern. I'm going to show you why this style doesn't work at this tempo. The other section was slow as shit originally until we fix it. This one is way too fucking fast, so now we just got to slow some things down. The only thing that I would say is good is the closed hat. I am going to change the open hat though, so I'll get rid of that, get rid of the snare, and get rid of the kicks. And then for the kick, it's easy. Fill each 4 steps, and we'll put the snare on every other kick. Then I'll do that same open hat trick I showed you guys earlier. So I did a super quick arrangement again. It's practically the same principles. We're taking out layers, really just changes the feel of the beat. You know, the first section is just everything. But then I just took out most of the melodies and slowly brought everything back in. Next section, brought the bass back in. Then more of the melodies. And overall, that is it. I do want to make a video where I make a full song with an artist on one of these beats, so if you guys want that, let me know in the comments down below. I have a lot of ideas for this style because I feel like it's really easy to make, but it sounds so good. So with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. Click here for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.